Meeting, 6 o'clock. Call the meeting to order, and I need someone to call the roll, please.
Commissioner Alexander. Commissioner Campbell.
Here.
Commissioner DeBrava.
Here.
Commissioner Ellis.
Here.
Commissioner Hyder.
Here.
Commissioner Mann.
Here.
Commissioner Hayes.
Here.
Okay, next order of business is to to look at the agenda and approve it. Do you have any questions about it? We can amend it, or otherwise we can pass it with a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion to approve the agenda, I assume.
Yes.
Do I
Second.
hear a second? You got a second?
Second.
You're ahead of me, but that's good. All right, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hyder.
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis.
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava.
Aye.
Commissioner Mann.
Aye.
Commissioner Hayes.
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell.
Aye.
Super. Look at the minutes. Next item of business is the approval of the minutes from the October 3, 2022 meeting, our last meeting. Are there any additions, subtractions, or a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Cynthia. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the October 3, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Hayes.
Here.
Commissioner Campbell.
Aye.
Commissioner Mann.
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava.
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis.
Aye. Next, I ask Chris to read the meeting procedures, please. Or not Chris. Chris is delegate.
The Planning and Zoning Commission holds public hearings as required by law and provides recommendations to the City Council on matters relating to land use planning, zoning, and the subdivision of land. Any person who has an interest in the subject matter of a hearing will have the opportunity to provide testimony and present evidence to the Commission during the public hearing. Speakers are required to conduct themselves in an orderly and respectful manner. Disruptive behavior, including applause, yelling, speaking out of turn, or other inappropriate behaviors will not be tolerated. Additionally, the following applies to any person addressing the Commission. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes unless authorized additional time by the chairperson. Speakers must speak at the podium unless previous arrangements have been made by the chairperson. Speakers must legibly print their name and address on the sign-in sheet at the podium prior to speaking. Speakers must begin by stating their name and address. Speakers should speak clearly and into the microphone. The chairperson will announce the subject of the hearing, followed by a report from staff. The chairperson will then open the public hearing to the applicant, followed by those in favor of the application and those opposed to the application. The chairperson will close the public hearing. During this time, the Commission will discuss among themselves. The public may not address the Commission after the close of the public hearing unless requested by the chairperson. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall base their recommendation and/or decision on information and evidence presented during the public hearing. This decision, if required by the application, will be forwarded in writing to City Council for further consideration.
Thank you. We have 3 hearings, public hearings. First one I'm going to call is ordinance 22-004, public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of amendments to Chapter 405 zoning regulations as it relates to accessory structures, accessory dwelling units, and decks. I have a question. Since there's no one here, do we go ahead and ask to see if there's anyone that wishes to come forward to speak on behalf of this?
I imagine for the record.
Okay, let's do that. Anyone, well, let's have your report first, and then we'll.
The City of Republic is requesting amendments to Chapter 405 zoning regulations, specifically to Sections 405.020 definitions and 405.640 accessory structures, plus the additions of sections that will be referenced as 405.643 decks and 405.648 accessory dwelling units. In general, all amendments and additions revised the current ordinance as necessary to ensure clarity and concision on constructing an accessory structure, accessory dwelling unit, or deck for residential lots. Together, the amendments of 405.020 definitions serve three purposes. The following definitions were added to enhance current and future sections. Affidavit, a legal binding written statement by oath that the statements are true to the best of the signee's knowledge. Accessory dwelling unit, a habitable structure or unit incidental and detached from a single-family home located on the same lot. Deck, a structure that provides an outdoor floor and is supported by a frame, posts, and footings. Deck, elevated, any deck that measures 2 feet or more from grade to the top finished floor of the decking. Principal structure, the structure constructed on the lot intended for the purpose of the main use and conforms to the designated zoning district's regulations. And site visibility triangle, areas at the corners of road and driveway intersections where views of approaching traffic should not be obstructed. The following definitions were amended for content. Carport. Currently, the definition does not allow carports to be in the side yard. The amendment will allow residents to place a carport in the side yard so long as they meet all the required setbacks. And yard front. The definition of a yard setback allows for the exclusion of projecting uncovered steps, unenclosed balconies, or unenclosed porches. This contradicts the overall definition of a setback, which is the minimum distance required between the property line and a point of the structure nearest the property line. Thus, the amendment will remove the exclusions currently allowed. The following definitions were amended to provide clarification on grammar errors or streamlining previous terminology used for past department names and titles, which includes basement, floor area, and grade. The amendments in Section 405.640 accessory structures address the following purposes. Redact any redundant language that would be addressed in the 2 new added sections or add language that would refer to those sections. Provide more flexibility of constructing accessory structures within an agriculturally zoned parcel of land. Redact the language of not project beyond the front yard setback line on the adjacent lots and change it to abide by the principal structure zoning district side street setback requirements for corner lots. The revision will allow for more freedom of buildable space for accessory structures while ensuring there is enough space to allow visibility for adjacent properties and public right-of-way. Restructuring the height regulations to add building language that will work for accessory structures that do not have any walls. Adding language that allowed city staff to require driveways to accessory structures to ensure the integrity of city infrastructure, and provide clarification on grammar errors on streamlining previous terminology used for past department names and titles. The addition of Section 405.643 decks. This section was added due to the characters of decks having features that both resembles accessory structures and additions to a home. The verbiage in this section clarifies when a deck will be deemed an addition or an accessory structure to a principal structure, and which setback regulations a deck must adhere to. The purpose of adding a separate section for decks is to facilitate spacing of structures in order to prevent related nuisances and hazards. It also allows staff to appropriately permit decks that have unique features in comparison to other accessory structures and home additions. The addition of Section 405.648 accessory dwelling units. The purpose of this section is to provide more housing options in an appropriate fashion with existing housing stock while efficiently using existing infrastructure. Due to the rise of housing prices, there has been a small rise in interest of ADUs. However, the current zoning chapter lacks a sufficient guidance for staff to help residents develop such units. This section provides regulations that maintain the character and scale of single-family residents and dwellings while ensuring ADUs are subordinate to the principal structure. The following areas were addressed during the writing of such section. Limit the number of ADUs on a lot to 1. The height and area of ADUs shall be subordinate to the principal structure. Maintain existing density standards of zoning district by requiring ADUs to adhere to the same setback regulations as the principal structure. Prior to occupation, a certificate of occupancy must be obtained. An affidavit will be required to ensure that the owner of the property will reside in either the ADU or principal structure, and neither one will be rented or leased to a non-family member. In addition to the amendment, addresses parking and access for fire services to ensure sufficient flow of traffic will not be impeded to adjacent properties. Staff recommends the approval of the reference amendments and addition of sections.
Thank you. First item here is, for the hearing, is to call on anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on behalf of this. We've already had the proponents talk, so anybody that is in favor of the changes to the ordinance, step forward and talk to us. Not seeing it or hearing anyone having an interest in doing that, we'll move to anyone that's opposed to the changes in the ordinance. Come forward and speak to us. Not seeing anyone or hearing anyone coming forward, I'm going to close the hearing. Next item on this would be then to have a discussion concerning the ordinance changes and vote on it if we wish to do so. Any questions by any of the commission? Concerns? Arguments for or against?
Recommend approval of ordinance 22004,
Yeah, the amendments.
or the amendments. to the
Amendments
ordinance.
to. Does that get it, Chris? Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Cynthia. I have a motion and a second to approve the changes to the amendments to the ordinance 22-004. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell,
Aye.
Commissioner Hayes,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava.
Aye.
Move to the second public hearing. I'm calling ordinance 23-001, public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of amendments to Chapter 405 zoning regulations as it relates to recreational marijuana. Staff?
Apologies, I got lost in that particularly long ordinance exhibits. The City of Republic is requesting amendments to Chapter 405 zoning regulations, specifically 405.020 definitions, 405.150 C1 local commercial district regulations, 405.165 C3 general commercial district, 405.170 M1 Light Industrial District Regulations, and 405.180 M2 Heavy Industrial District Regulations. Following the legalization of medical marijuana by Missouri voters, city staff presented code amendments recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission and adopted by City Council, providing for the sale and use of marijuana for strictly medical purposes. Last November, Missouri voters opted to amend the Article 14 of the Missouri Constitution by adding provisions for recreational marijuana use by members of the general public aged 21 years or older. These changes have ramification for city law by mandating new uses to be reflected in the local zoning ordinances. The amendments here serve the purpose of aligning the City of Republic Municipal Code with the changes to Article 14 of the Missouri State Constitution by assigning zoning districts for each of these uses. The amendments to Chapter 405 reflect two elements of the changes made to Article 14 of the Missouri Constitution. First, they update the existing definitions relating to medical marijuana, and second, they add the new terms relating to recreational marijuana and integrate the associated uses into the appropriate zoning districts. All of the definitions put forth utilize the language of Article 14 of the Missouri Constitution. The changes to existing medical marijuana definitions are mostly clarifications of language. Of note are the following items. Definitions are now included for pre-rolls or marijuana cigarettes, which may be produced and sold at medical marijuana cultivation facilities and medical marijuana dispensary facilities. That's been changed to remove the medical and only now that's limited only to marijuana dispensary facilities. Activities for marijuana cultivation facilities and marijuana dispensary facilities now include not only marijuana, but marijuana seeds and marijuana vegetative cuttings as well. And a medical marijuana dispensary facility may conduct their business anywhere on the licensed property or to any legally allowable address provided by the patient or primary caregiver. New elements appearing in the code concern the addition of facilities where marijuana may be cultivated, infused, or dispensed for both medical and recreational purposes. There are two new facility types being introduced: comprehensive facilities and micro-business facilities. Comprehensive facilities are further broken down into three subtypes. The comprehensive marijuana cultivation facility. These facilities are licensed to grow for wholesale marijuana and to produce pre-rolls for both medical and recreational purposes. Comprehensive marijuana dispensary facilities. These facilities are licensed for retail sale of marijuana, infused products, and pre-rolls for both medical and recreational purposes, and comprehensive marijuana infused products manufacturing facilities. These facilities are licensed to manufacture and wholesale marijuana infused products such as edibles, concentrates, oils, and other forms of marijuana extract for both medical and recreational purposes. Micro-business facilities are a separate category of licensing which is intended to bring social equity to provisioners of marijuana in Missouri. These licenses are assigned to members of an applicant pool who must meet certain criteria related to income, marijuana incarceration, disabilities, education, or who reside in a census tract exhibiting hardships or of a similar nature. Micro-business facilities are of two subtypes: micro-business dispensary facility. These facilities are licensed for retail sale of marijuana-infused products, and pre-rolls for both medical and recreational purposes, and micro-business wholesale facilities. These facilities are licensed to cultivate up to 250 flowering marijuana plants at any given time, as well as to manufacture and wholesale marijuana and marijuana-infused products such as edibles, concentrates, oils, and other forms of marijuana extract for both medical and recreational purposes. The aforementioned facility types have been assigned to the zoning districts in accordance with the category of activities in which those facilities engaged. This amendment proposes the addition of the following uses to the city's zoning districts: retail commercial C1, commercial marijuana dispensary facility, and micro-business dispensary facility. General commercial district C3, comprehensive marijuana dispensary facility, micro-business dispensary facility. Light industrial M1, comprehensive marijuana infused products manufacturing facility. Heavy industrial M2, comprehensive marijuana cultivation facility, micro-business wholesale facility. These assignments mirror those previously made for medical marijuana facilities. Staff recommends the approval of the referenced amendment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chris. This time I'll call anyone from the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the changes or inclusions in the ordinance, its amendments to Section 405 and other sections that were noted by Chris. Seeing no one come forward, I'll call for anyone who wishes to come forward and oppose the changes to the ordinance. Seeing no one come forward, I close that portion of the hearing and close the hearing. This time we'll discuss whether or not we want to vote, and if so, what the vote will be. I have a question. Yeah. Where are where in the city limits is there a heavy industrial M2?
The heavy industrial, for the most part, is in the Brookline area along So that's kind of the industrial corridor of the city. There are some areas along closer to the Springfield side of 60. For instance, there's a brewery over there, kind of where that Burke Bridge is. So there are some manufacturing uses over there as well.
Okay. And where's their light industrial M1?
Light industrial, there's a little bit scattered around. There's one on Main Street, for instance. There's a spot. For the most part, it is in the same area as the manufacturing.
Is the light industrial on Main Street, is that at the end down there by the railroad tracks?
It is, are you familiar with the Superfund site?
Yes.
So it is connected to that. It's part of that property.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's limited in the same way. We also, we take into consideration during any rezones, where things should be and not necessarily where, existing zoning has allowed for things to be. So, but you'll find if you look at a map, and we can look at one. I'd be happy to send you guys, something showing this after this, if you'd like. We can kind of look and see where the M2 and the M1 districts lie. But for the most part, they're where the Amazon, all the heavy truck traffic that we have is.
The one you mentioned on Main Street, the M1, is it the Superfund site where they had the Blue Goose or whatever it
The
was?
Superfund site is that, but there's also a piece of property that is divided from it that is like that's unoccupied that could be built upon.
Did it used to have a structure on it?
To mine, I don't know the history of it.
Is it to the south of the where the Superfund site
Yes,
was?
yes, it's directly to the south.
On the other side of the water wells that were there.
Yes, so so right now the Superfund site is fenced off,
Yeah.
and it is on the other side of that fence on the south.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have questions? Anyone want to make a motion?
Motion to approve the recommended amendments to ordinance 23001.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner DeBrava,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell,
Aye.
Commissioner Hayes,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
Commissioner Mann.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. We move to the third and last public hearing, VACA 23-001, public hearing and possible vote to recommend the approval of an application to vacate a portion of north, I assume, Turner Avenue right-of-way. Had to guess, but I think I'm right. Right-of-way, it says ROW. All right, city, please. Chris?
The city is requesting the vacation of approximately 10,550 square feet of North Turner Avenue. The resulting right-of-way will match the existing portion along the developed portion of North Turner Avenue upon vacation. The vacated portion of the road will be returned to the adjacent property owner and is anticipated to be incorporated into their planned development, Oakwood Heights Second Edition. North Turner Avenue will maintain current functionality. The following contains a brief analysis of present site conditions as well as the proposal's relationship to the adopted plans of the city. The proposal will reduce right-of-way maintenance by approximately 10,550 feet. The proposal has positive development impacts to adjacent properties. The proposal has no anticipated adverse impact on the city's water, wastewater, or stormwater systems currently in place. The proposal is not anticipated to have any impact on any other public services, and the proposal has no anticipated impact on emergency services. The Buildings Department recommends approval of the requested street vacation.
Thank you. I would call at this time anyone in the audience who wishes to come forward in favor of the VACA 23-001, come forward and tell us what you think. Not seeing anyone or hearing anyone come, I ask for anyone who is opposed to the approval of the application to vacate the portion of North Turner Avenue right-of-way, come forward and tell us your position. No one coming forward, I close the hearing, move to our discussion.
Was this the original alignment of the road at some point, or planned alignment?
Originally, there was, my understanding is that they thought that they may jog the road over, and so the city had taken alignment in order with that original plan. The road has since been built and functions with the, we'll get the right of way that we need simply for it to function is the idea, rather than more than we need.
Any other questions? Motions?
I'll make a motion to recommend the approval of the vacate 23-001.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second recommending approval of the application to vacate a portion of North Turner Avenue right-of-way as described in vacation VACA 23-001. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner Hayes,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other business? Is there any citizen here that wishes to participate by coming and telling us what we need to know? Not seeing that happen. The ever-popular Builds Department update, is there an update tonight?
No update tonight.
Okay. I guess that leaves us with somebody wanting to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Good job.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBrava,
Aye.
Commissioner Hyder,
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell,
Aye.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner Hayes.
Aye.
Thank you. Before I slap the gavel, don't forget you have to fill out your